Hey, everybody, or anybody. This is Tina Lorenz, and I'm coming at you live today so that we can just hang out together, answer some questions, have a conversation, and I'll have that conversation, even if it's just me, myself, and I. But if you are coming in at any point in this chat, I'd really love it in the comments if you would just say hi, let me know where you're watching from. I'm in Tucson, Arizona, and beautiful day. It's going to be almost 80 degrees here today. Sorry, not sorry. And what we're gathering for is just to have our conversations about starting over after 50, specifically what really matters when you're doing that and what doesn't. And I'm just going to go ahead and chat on about it. And if you are coming in and have any questions about it, I'm happy to answer them for you. If you have any comments, would love to hear that. Because we want to talk about what matters and what actually doesn't. And so last week, I did one of these Freeform Friday conversations. And I had someone say, will you show us how to make a video? Would you show us how to make our first video? And I said, well, yeah, we can talk about that. But as I've thought about that, I realized that making that first video, because here we are on YouTube where it's videos, and maybe you haven't been doing it, maybe you have, but you haven't really updated your channel lately, maybe you have old content, wherever you're at in this journey. If you're here on YouTube, it's all about video, right? So the thing is, though, that first video it's not a video problem. It's actually a visibility problem, a visibility challenge, so to speak. And because your first video, or if you're restarting or starting with a new intention, it doesn't have to be nichified yet. Because no one really cares about your setup. I mean, there's going to be some questions possibly when I'm working with people of, well, what do I need to do? I have a couple of different backgrounds that I use when I'm doing video. I have my home office. It's actually a bedroom that's just 100% devoted to it being my office, as it has been for the last 10 years in this house. And it's all set up for me to be able to work in here. Yesterday, I did a video from outside on our property. And the thing that I want to tell you is this isn't about getting views. It's about setting up a signal. The reason that you're going to do this in the first place, in my estimation, and what I'm teaching, is to set the signal. So your first job with this is to show up. It's not to monetize. It's not to try and make a big audience or anything like that. And here's the thing with the way that you get found these days online. And when I say these days, I mean now in 2026, for example, it's not necessarily by your name or the name of your business or how big your channel is or anything like that. Think of YouTube as a vehicle, okay? And online business for you is the outcome. And so we're going to use YouTube to propel us forward. We're climbing into the car and heading down the highway of YouTube. Not because we're looking for the giant traffic jam of everybody else or everyone fighting for a position to be first across the bridge or whatever it might be. It's about really allowing people to see what you're about and how you position. And it's about positioning with YouTube to start a business and to be findable. Because here's the other thing. I've been online for 21 years. And one of my biggest hurdles for people I work with, the people that I train, the people that are in my programs, is how are you going to get found? And I was just working with someone recently, and they immediately said, well, I'm going to run Facebook ads. And I was just kind of like, oh my gosh, don't do that, because they're just getting started with a new direction in their life of what they want to do for a business. They're shifting from one thing to another. I'm going to keep it a little vague because it's client confidentiality that I honor, but it's brand new. What they're working towards now is brand new. And I was like, please don't start with ads. It's just a giant money pit if you don't know what you're doing. And it's a whole additional kind of training if you're going to try to do it yourself. I went down that path, 5 or 6 different agencies over the years, just tons of money, tens of thousands. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. It's probably, I don't know, $500,000, 600. That's not a lot compared to some businesses, but it was a lot for me to put into ads at 30 and 40,000. Actually, it was more than that probably, because it was $30,000 and $40,000 a month for ads. And so that's not the way. It doesn't have to be the way now. And that's the good news, actually. The thing about what stops most people from doing videos is identity. That's the actual block. How they see themselves, how their perception is of who they are. Can they show up? Can they actually have anything of worth or value? How do I just talk to a camera? All of those kinds of things. Who would want to hear from me? When I was, before I ever was online as a copywriter, my husband and I did promotional tours for big ad agencies, and basically they're multi-million-dollar tours that are meant to be an entertainment. No one had to pay to attend them. It was meant to be fun. It was meant to be educational. It was definitely meant to catch attention. And it was really about measuring eyeballs on the topic, whoever the sponsor was, the company that was paying for the big tour. And at one point, they came to me and said, do you think you could learn a little script? Because we were hosting what was like a giant game show. And it was very much modeled after a show called The Weakest Link. And I think there's a new version of it now, but the original Anne, who was the host of The Weakest Link, at that time, my hair was red, auburn, and short. And I kind of resembled her a little tiny bit. And so it was kind of like the stern look that she had. She wore black turtleneck and jacket. And so they kind of had this thought that maybe I could be kind of like her, only friendly, to be the host. So they sent a news team, actually from their own resources. They sent a team with all big professional cameras on. They gave me a script the night before. We were in Miami. It was going to be filmed outdoors at the event. And they said, we just want to see, how you are on camera. And I was just like, oh my gosh, are you kidding? From the time I was a kid, I didn't want to hear myself like on a tape recorder. I didn't want to see pictures of myself. I really was not comfortable with any of that. That was an identity issue. But I learned the script. And when they came and said, okay, let's just give it my best shot. So I ran the script, was able to do it the first time through, amazingly enough. And when they stopped, cut kind of a thing, they said, wow, okay, guess what? You're a natural. We don't need to do it again. We got it on the first take. And that was a huge shock to me, I can tell you. So I was like, well, okay. And they call that B-roll, like they would play it on the news, or you see B-roll on videos on YouTube where there's just different action shots or something someone's doing interspersed between the messaging. And so they took it back to the company, and they came back to me and were like, we would really like you to do this. We think you're going to do a great job. And so we're going to start booking you for morning news shows, because we traveled the whole East Coast with this tour. And it was called the 100 City Cruise for Calcium. It was for gut milk and bone density, that type of stuff. And I started doing like Good Morning Tampa Bay, and Good Morning Phoenix, those kinds of shows. And I started going to the studios like really early in the morning before we do the event and talking about the event, or they came to the event and they interviewed me. And I learned that I could do it. That was the thing. So that was an identity shift for me. That was a shift into, okay, I can talk to the camera. I can imagine that person on the other side, and I can have a conversation with them. And so that's what I did. And so that same thing can happen for you with YouTube. It doesn't have to be graceful. It doesn't have to be fancy. And your content leads with this of telling yourself you're allowed to start now. You're allowed to start now, that you're not behind. Wherever you're at in this process, you are not behind. And I would say there are certain advantages of things you don't have to unlearn if you're just getting started now. You can start with a whole new way of an energy that you bring to how you're going to do YouTube, what the purpose of your channel is. Because the thing is, what you already know counts. Now, I'm talking about especially for those of us past 50. If you're past 50, 60, 70s, even in your 80s, you have so much knowledge and wisdom, life experience. And there's really a need for older people on YouTube, and YouTube wants the older people to be creating content on YouTube. There's also a trend now towards more longer content. So if you want to just sit and chat for 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, that can be a viable resource for you with YouTube. You don't have to. You can be shorter. It can be 10 minutes long or whatever. But I'm just saying, if you're the type that wants to just kind of sit outside or sit by the fire and just have a conversation, I've seen quite a few people on YouTube that are doing much longer. Just, this is what my life's been about, sharing their knowledge, sharing their wisdom. What's missing for a lot of them, though, is understanding how to leverage that into something more for themselves, as far as revenue, as far as business building. But, what does count, and you're not behind. And so the thing is, though, Another great thing about YouTube is it can become really probably the simplest place to stop hiding in the shadows, to stop being behind the scenes, and not, but yet not having to feel like a big performance either. And so it's really a pretty simple step into the light for you. See, what I've found, I mean, I'm trained as a coach. I'm trained with mindset work, a lot of different things now, as well as marketing, strategy, and copywriting, which is 21 years online. But what people believe about themselves is what keeps them invisible. And just like it was for me, I didn't like the sound of my voice. I didn't like how I looked on camera. I certainly didn't think I could have a video of myself doing anything. And what I believed about myself kept me smaller and more invisible. When I had discovered that it was something I could actually do and ended up doing well eventually, then that brought a whole new light shining on this event we were doing. People literally came to the event, would say, "Oh, I saw you in the news this morning." And so we came out to the event. And our job was to get people to eyeballs on the event to participate in what we were doing. It was like a giant game show that I ran as the host and teaching them about eye health. It was called the IQ Challenge, and it was about vision. Okay. And it was like trivia questions. They'd win little prizes. We gave away little cameras, and coupons and things like that. And so, and it was actually fun to do, a lot of work, but it was actually fun. But here's the thing. Your experience, whatever it may be, doesn't necessarily translate automatically online. People don't automatically just get it. Oh yeah, that's what you do. And part of the issue with that is because you don't possibly, it's a possibility now that you don't know how to translate it online. You don't know how to really narrow it down to, this is what I do. Like for me, it's I help people over 50 stop shrinking and start earning from what they already know. And that's without chasing trends or becoming a content machine, the hamster on the wheel. That's what I do. I help people over 50 step into that expertise. And it might be something completely different than what they've been doing before. It might be that along the way, they've discovered they're really exceptionally good at gardening. And that's really what they'd like to talk about. And that's what they want to build something around, but not just as a hobby, as something. Could this take you into your older years? Could this take you into retirement age, so to speak? Not necessarily because you are going to retire in the sense of doing nothing, but because most people would think of that, because you're not going to go out and just easily get a job most of the time. Even people in their 40s are finding that as an issue now. But in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 75 like me, you're not just going to go get hired somewhere unless it's really a very difficult, more menial job, like a greeter or the table cleaner in the fast food restaurant or something like that. That's what you end up seeing a lot of, or cashiers, right? Really hard physical work that doesn't pay all that great. And so when you can take something that you have expertise in and you can present it in a way that others can understand, that starts to be kind of your golden ticket into creating something meaningful that's helpful to someone else and is helpful to you and hopefully enjoyable to you. And if you are having trouble with that right now, I want to reassure you, it has absolutely nothing to do with being bad at marketing. Okay. Marketing is there's things about it that are really changing right now. And the good news is you don't have to go with the bro marketing kind of stuff. You don't have to I've got to understand everything about funnels and webinars and be on every social media platform. Oh my gosh, no, right? Because here's the thing. Most people now build on tactics that expire, something that was, oh, this was the going thing like a few years ago, not anymore, that kind of thing. Platforms that shift. Have you noticed that? Where people are talking about, even like LinkedIn, for example, has said that their organic search results for people that are on LinkedIn has fallen by about 60% last year in 2025. It's getting harder and harder to be found, harder and harder to be able to show up, or you're just like trying to run ads and you're still not getting that return on investment from the ad spend. You don't know how to run the ads, so you have to hire somebody else or learn a whole new skill set. Oh my gosh, don't want to do that either. Or they build on attention that they don't control, of how many times will someone see your YouTube video? How many people will see your Facebook posts? How many people will see all these posts that you're putting in all these various places? How many people are actually going to see it? You have no control over that. And so then you keep going harder and harder and harder, thinking you must be missing something. You must be doing something wrong. No, that's not what's happening. It's that there's a different way for being found now that has a whole different dimension to it, a whole different foundation. And so when you're trying to just get found because you're competing with the masses in random kind of way, just by more and more content, then you can end up stepping into an identity that is more like a performance, that you feel like you have to perform in a certain way, exactly this way, or it's not going to work. And all of these things are things that keep us from moving forward. They're all discouragements that can happen. So now what we build instead is experience, identity, and findability. That stack does not age out. It actually gets stronger with time as you have even more experience and as you get more confident about that identity, and that you are able to refine your experience even more and express it in a way that even you understand. And that might sound funny, but I've known a lot of people that didn't know how to really say what it is they actually do. I've had that problem, especially for those of us that can talk about a lot of different things, or we enjoy a lot of different things, and we kind of come at it from a million different angles, and people end up just being confused, right? Well, what actually do they do? And so we want people to go, oh yeah, he teaches people how to play the piano online. I want to learn how to do that. She trains dogs from a very young age to be really super well behaved and obedient. I want to learn that, and that what lane you're in. And it could be based just on life experience. It doesn't have to be, it might be professional experience. Maybe you're a dentist or a therapist, or you've been a teacher, or you're a pilot, that you have something that you do that from your professional realm that you're going to translate into something now online. And again, it gets stronger with time. And so this is why a lot of times people think that YouTube is about being on. Okay, it's showtime, And I'm not saying you don't have a little bit of nerves or preparation. Certainly, I get ready to, when I turn the camera on, I want to make sure, that I'm presentable and that my background is tidy and that my lighting is okay. And actually, the lighting today, I'm kind of experimenting because, again, about simplifying. Instead of having to buy a whole bunch of really expensive lights, I'm using a couple of flexible desk lights that are LED desk lights. Got them at Costco a long time ago, but they have like a flexible kind of neck on them and you can adjust them. And so that's my lighting today. And then an open window, uncovered window over to the side. And so, because perfection kills momentum. If we feel like I have to have a whole studio and I have to have all this fancy equipment. You had a phone, you have a computer, you have a couple of lights, you have a window that has light coming in it. You have what you need to get started. And you have experience. You have life experience. And so instead of waiting, you're getting ready to get ready, that you just sort of jump in and say, look, I'll clean it up later. And especially with YouTube, you can clean it up later. You might have some videos that, maybe you're feeling like those weren't so great. And then you'll have other ones that are like, I feel really good about this one. And then the next assignment for that is stepping out of the zone of the perfectionism being, oh, it has to have this many views. I have to have this many likes or else it must have failed. No, that's not the way it is now. And remember, if you're coming into the call, I would love to hear in the chat where you're from, if you want to share that. But the thing is, for a lot of people, visibility is actually more scary than tech. It's more feeling like something you can't quite conquer. Or you think if you just learn a bunch of strategies and tactics, that will get you there. But when that inner work hasn't been done, and I'm not saying it has to be done first, again, we're all a work in progress, but the inner work is ongoing, of identity, clarification, belief in yourself and what you're capable of doing, what you choose to do, what you desire to do, what you see as something you would love to do. And most people actually just wait too long to be, quote, ready. It's more important to be willing. Are you willing? Are you willing to make a mistake? Are you willing to show up? Are you willing to give it a shot, right? and most people wait way too long. And so that's kind of where I'm at with all of this, is helping you find that path for yourself. And it's so exciting because it's really leveling the playing field. The way people get found now, I'm finding something that I'm working with, a foundation for that has been so incredibly amazing for me, and just confirming that I've created a challenge called the 5-day Findability Challenge. And so we're going to do it at the end of the month. I'm just going to mention this briefly. Uh, the It exists, and on February 23rd through the 27th, and it'll be starting at noon Eastern. And it's really all about being found for what you talk about, what your experience is, what your area of expertise or interest is, not who you already are. It's not about that. Like, well, I have to already be at this certain level. I have to already be at this very high level. And I'll put the link in the description after this. And if you're interested, would love to have you join me. And I've already got some people signed up, and it might be small, just kind of an intimate group where I teach you the framework that I'm using to be findable. I mean, when we want the search engines to find you without ads and without you having to, well, I was in a group where, and it's someone I admire, someone I respect, and I've learned a lot from them. But at one point they were saying you needed to post 10 times a day, just on Facebook, 10 times a day. And then there's LinkedIn, right? And then everyone will say, oh, but you have to post differently on LinkedIn. You can't do it the same way as you do on Facebook. You have to have another version that you do on LinkedIn. And then there's that cold outreach, the DMs, messaging people. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I dislike doing that. I don't do it, actually. The whole concept of doing it is alien to me. I never did it from the beginning, and I don't do it now. And but I think, like many, I went through a time thinking, well, I guess I'm supposed to. That's what I'm supposed to do. And then feeling like kind of down on myself if I didn't. Like, there must be something wrong with me. I'm not doing everything I should do. And how many times can I post in all these different places? Well, I don't know if I can do 10 times a day. Maybe twice would be all right. That kind of stuff. Have you found yourself ever falling into that? What if you didn't have to do it like that anymore? What if you just got to be where you wanted to be, and you had a purpose, and you had a mission, and you knew what your message was, and you had a defined structure that would allow you to become findable, and that you knew how to turn YouTube as a doorway to having a really viable online business? And I'm not, I was looking through, I was saying last week, I like to use props, and I was opening my desk drawer, and this was right in the front, and it's not real, okay? But you see what it says on there? 100,000, right? And the other side, that's a elusive dream for a lot of people. Can I just get to that? Well, it won't arrive like this, I can tell you that. And I just thought it was kind of funny. I've got one that says 1 million on it also. And when I first started online, I think that was my goal, was the 6 figures. I make 6 figures. And what if now, in some ways, that doesn't seem so big compared to what a lot of people are talking about with their multi-million-dollar this and many, many millions of that and all that. And what if it was something like this over the course of a year? Would that make a difference? What if it was $1,000 a month? Would that make a difference? And so it's kind of reverse engineering where you'd like to go with it, and then creating that foundation so that can happen. It can actually happen for you. It's a lot different now. Absolutely. It used to be, throw up a website, have a few things on it, click, 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 boom, sales. It's not that easy now. It's different now. And again, getting findable and establishing trust and credibility is much more important now. And that's the foundation. So it's really good to not be in a hurry with any of these things, because it isn't an overnight anything, but it can happen rather possibly faster than you think when you put the consistency behind it, and you start to see signs of life of someone responding. So instead of it being, well, I didn't get 1 million views and I don't have 3,000 comments, It could be with maybe there's one person out there that says, "This I really needed this today. I really needed to hear this today." That happened to me this week on one of the videos I have on YouTube that someone reached out telling me they had both a, military background and law enforcement, I think more like Department of Corrections type background, and they really appreciated the story I shared of something that I went through. It's my video of I married a psychopath, because I did briefly, and, and something I hadn't talked about in almost 30 years, maybe more than 30 years. I had not really talked about it, and I decided I was gonna do one video about it as kind of, if I could keep one person from having this experience that I'd had. And just they had I had done it a few weeks back, and they happened to watch it, and they said they wanted their daughter to watch it, and that they were thankful. And, that really meant a lot to me. Made my day, actually, because I felt like after I did that video, there's many more chapters there could be of what happened in that story. But I felt like I need to give it some space. I think I need to just give it some breathing room because it's a lot. I've kept file boxes with all the records of what happened for over 30 years, sitting in a storage unit, sitting in the corner of our garage, gathering dust, yellowing with time, some of the pages, not wanting to look at it, but yet feeling like I need to keep it just in case because of the way the story went. Pretty, pretty involved. I ended up on a national talk show over it. And just felt like I don't think I'm ready to do chapter 2 yet. I just gonna let it sit for a while. So just getting that message was really encouraging and reinforcing and felt like an honor, right? That I was able to bring something into someone's life with that. So it doesn't have to be that dramatic of a story either. It could be, wow, I finally figured out an exercise routine that works for me, or I finally figured out how I can have that online business that creates additional revenue for me, or I finally am figuring out how to have my dog sit and stay when I tell it to, so that we can enjoy each other so much more, whatever it is for you. So I just want to thank you for spending time with me, for watching the video. If you do, if you're at this point already, and I'm going to put the link for the 5-day findability challenge in the description. If you'd like to join me for that at the end of February, I'll be live every day, where I will teach you the framework and kind of the identity shifting that goes with being findable like that online. And I think that's what I've got for you today. If this was helpful to you, I'd really appreciate a comment. Of course, I always appreciate like and subscribe. and I hope this is also an example that even if you don't have a huge audience, right, when you're doing something like this, you do it anyway. You just go ahead and do it anyway, create some more content that can help someone and learn from it. And that's what I'm doing today too. Because you know what? We're not done yet, especially those of us past 50, 60, 70. We are not done yet. And it's never too late. That's fact. I've lived it, I am living it, and I'd love to help you do that as well. So until next time, and I will be talking to you again very soon. This is Tina Lorenz. Bye for now.